Hey everyone, welcome back. It's Briggs, your tour guide through America's Oops, We Broke the Economy theme park. Today we're counting down the states getting slammed the hardest by the 2025 tariff wars, and not the so magical disappearing tourist trick. Think of it as a travel guide, but instead of beaches and roller coasters, we'll be showcasing empty hotel lobbies, shuttered souvenir shops, and governors frantically Googling diversify revenue streams, please. So grab a bucket of overpriced airport coffee if you can still afford a flight, smash that like button harder than Florida's tourism numbers got smashed by Canadian boycotts, and stick around to see which state is staring at the biggest economic faceplant, the likes of which we've never seen before. Spoiler alert, sunshine and lobster rolls can't save you when Uncle Sam rolls out the unwelcome mat. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's dive in. Number 10, Maine. Maine's economy is built on two things: Canadians driving down for cheaper LL Bean tote bags and tourists paying $35 for a lobster roll. Both revenue streams are drying up in 2025. The state's tourism office now expects a 9.5% drop in international visitors this year alone, thanks largely in part to the icy Canadian boycott. Tariffs aren't helping either. Crustaceans, wood pulp, and other Maine exports landed on Ottawa's retaliation list, while Washington keeps threatening even higher duties. Lawmakers warn that thousands of coastal jobs could vanish if this tug-of-war drags on. Now, that's according to the Maine Morning Star. Fewer tourists means emptier inns along Route 1, and rising lobster prices mean those who still show up order the chicken fingers. For a state that sells itself on seaside charm, losing the folks who actually eat the seafood is a clawful scenario. Number 9, Michigan. Remember when Torontoans used the Ambassador Bridge like their personal mall escalator, swooping in for bargain bin gas prices, a Tim Hortons selfie on U.S. soil, and a Red Wings game that usually ended with them politely apologizing for actually winning? Well, that gravy train just hit a pothole the size of Lake St. Clair. Cross-border traffic is down 11%, and Mackinac Island's fudge shops are staring at unsold slabs the way seagulls eyeball unattended French fries. Even the historic Grand Hotel, with its famous 660-foot porch, say summer bookings are sputtering harder than a 1995 Pontiac Sunfire in a polar vortex. Meanwhile, the Motor City has its own wrench in the gears, namely Trump's shiny new auto parts tariffs. Suppliers from Detroit to Kalamazoo are tossing pink slips out like they're confetti. Grand Rapids alone waved goodbye to 115 jobs, and GM's latest quarterly report fell 35% faster than you can say, "What's your plan B?" It's a perfect storm when your signature industries can't sell cars and your primary tourist demographics can't be bothered to drive down for cheap hockey jerseys and slightly cheaper beef jerky. So here we are, fewer Canadians, fewer paychecks, and fewer reasons to shell out for a lakeshore weekend where the main attractions are lighthouses and the lingering scent of wet cedar. That famous Pure Michigan jingle, it's starting to sound suspiciously misleading. Just swap the soothing voiceover of a guy yelling, "Everything's on sale because nobody's buying." Welcome to 2025, where the fudge is still sweet, the views are still gorgeous, but the economic outlook feels about as promising as a blizzard during tulip season. Number 8, Massachusetts. Remember when Western Massachusetts could just fling a pumpkin spice banner across I-90 and watch minivans full of leaf peepers roll straight into the Berkshires? Well, tourism chiefs now call tariffs the enemy of travel because families short on disposable income are apparently more interested in heating bills than hayrides. Bed and breakfast owners say bookings look thinner than a late season maple leaf. And even the Norman Rockwell Museum is bracing for quieter galleries this fall. In other words, those beautiful hills might still glow, but the credit card swipes are decidedly muted. If the spreadsheets coming out of Boston University are just half right, this is just the opening act of an economic horror flick. A study warns that sticking with the tariff hikes could vaporize $12.8 billion in state growth and send 79,000 jobs into the great beyond by 2026. Almost 80,000 jobs. That's incredible. That's enough lost payroll to buy every Berkshire black bear its own honey farm. Or, keep the entire hospitality sector afloat. Instead, the Bay State is risking watching its signature industries, biotech, education, get kneecapped faster than you can say unforced trade war. It's according to Boston University. Meanwhile, Boston had penciled in a record wave of international arrivals for 2025, only to watch the visitor graph do a swan dive once Canada started rethinking its weekend getaways. Local planners now predict a 20% plunge in Canadian tourists. Bad news for anyone who sells Fenway Franks, Red Sox tickets, or Paul Revere was my Uber driver t-shirts. When Canadians won't cross the border for a day game at the Old Green Monster, the Commonwealth's revenue outlook is less Sweet Caroline and more rain delay. In case you don't know, they always sing Sweet Caroline during the games. 7th inning stretch thing. Number 7, Louisiana. Remember when Canadian snowbirds treated Bourbon Street like an all-inclusive resort with better jazz and looser open container laws? Yeah, well, cue the record scratch. Tour operators now report that bookings from the Great White North have face-planted after Washington lobbed a fresh batch of tariffs northward. Suddenly, Maple Leaf luggage is rerouted to Mexico and Europe instead of the French Quarter, leaving would-be Mardi Gras revelers in New Orleans to ask, hey, where'd everybody go? And that's according to Axios. That icy Canadian shoulder isn't just a minor chill, it's a Category 5 financial cold front. Industry bean counters warn that the boycott alone could yank roughly $2 billion out of Louisiana's tourism this year alone. That's enough cash to buy everyone a new shrimp boat. Instead, the state coffers are learning a harsh lesson in what happens when your top international market decides your political spat isn't worth the price of a hurricane cocktail. And just when hotels thought it couldn't get any worse, a fresh travel ban scare rolled in like a Gulf Coast thunderstorm. Advanced room bookings for the back half of 2025 are already 12% lower than last year, meaning lobby pianos are playing to half-empty rooms, and bellhops have plenty of time to perfect their bead-throwing form. Sure, the plastic trinkets will soar through the air come Mardi Gras, but the cash registers, they're still quieter than a tombstone after last call. Number 6, Alaska. Alaska's 2025 tourist season kicked off with the Norwegian Bliss gliding into Juneau like a floating Vegas buffet. Except this time, the buffet came with headlines about tariff wars and federal layoffs instead of endless crab legs. Local officials put on their best everything is fine smiles, but even the resident bald eagles could tell the mood was shakier than a jazzercise class on a runaway train. When blizzards are more predictable than summer revenue, you got some problems. Business model needs a parka. Now, I haven't been to Alaska this season. I usually cruise it, at least once a season. But I didn't go in 2024, and I'm not going to go this year. So 2 years I've missed it. But a lot of my friends that are cruise vloggers, they're all saying that the ships aren't nearly as full as they used to be. They go into town, not as many people are, going on the tours, going in the gift shops, things like that. They say there's a noticeable difference. And a lot of Alaska's revenue, especially on the west side, comes from these cruise ships. So they're not in good shape. We'll see when the cruise season is over around September. See how it went. But it's not looking good. Down the Inside Passage, tourist operators are calling the season a mixed bag, which is Alaskan code for the salmon are biting harder than the tourists. And here's the real kicker. If the cruisers decide to binge watch glacier videos from the couch instead, towns from Ketchikan to Skagway will feel the chill long before winter shows up to rub it in. Fewer passengers means fewer shore excursions, fewer salmon-baked selfies, and way fewer dollars tossed into the Replace Our 1990s Boardwalk Fund. Alaska may be the last frontier, but in 2025, it's teaching folks the frontier can get mighty lonely when the tourists pull a disappearing act. Number 5, Nevada. Las Vegas usually counts tourists the way most of us count loose change, quickly and with a big grin. But 2025 numbers look more like the receipt from a busted slot machine. Visitor totals through June of this year, 2025, are down 6.5%, which translates to nearly 1 million fewer people feeding quarters into quarter machines and posting questionable poolside selfies. Imagine a Hoover Dam-sized leak in the tourist pipeline and you're close. The casinos have responded by dimming the neon just enough to pretend it's mood lighting and hoping no one notices the empty blackjack tables. Enter Senator Jackie Rosen, who's labeled the whole mess a Trump slump. According to her, tariff tantrums have triggered travel advisories in key international markets, leaving would-be visitors asking, do we risk angry customs agents and jet lag to lose rent money in the desert? Apparently not. Overseas high rollers are staying home, and the Strip's limo drivers have more time to ponder life's big question, like, why does traffic still suck here when half the tourists are missing? Of course, Vegas isn't exactly rolling out the red carpet for the budget crowd either. When a bagel costs $33 and a bottle of water clocks in at $26, the middle class reacts the same way you did when Netflix raised its prices, by angrily binge-watching something else. Analysis call this sticker shock, locals call it Tuesday. The result, empty hotel rooms where the do not disturb sign swings in the air conditioning like a tiny white flag of surrender. What happens in Vegas apparently stays in Vegas, even the silence. Number 4, Hawaii. Remember when booking the trip to Hawaii was like shorthand for treat yourself? Well, 2025 has turned that postcard fantasy into a spreadsheet headache. University of Hawaii bean counters warned that the island will welcome 4% fewer visitors and hemorrhage about $1.6 billion in spending over the next 2 years. Blame a perfect storm of sky-high airfare, hotels tacking on resort fees like it's a competitive sport, and international travelers who'd rather binge-watch sunsets on YouTube than pay tariff-inflated prices for the real thing. Now, those numbers may not seem as big as other places, but you got to remember Hawaii's economy is based around tourism. I wouldn't say exclusively, but pretty close. The most jarring plot twist stars Hawaii's longtime MVPs, Japanese vacationers. They're ghosting Waikiki like an ex who keeps posting "wish you were here" selfies. Their spending is down a jaw-dropping 54% compared to 2019, and future bookings are sliding bad. And hotels are raising prices and marking up everything to kind of make up the difference. But what that's doing is chasing more people away. They're just caught in a bad loop here, and it's just going to get worse. When Paradise can't outrun a price surge, the trade winds start delivering red ink spreadsheets instead of lays. Unless prices chill out and international confidence rebounds, Hawaii's tourism sector might find itself learning a new phrase in multiple languages: belt tightening. Number 3, California. California's once glittering welcome mat is losing its shine. Visit California's latest forecast says international arrivals will tumble 9.2% in 2025 alone, the first dip since the pandemic. Blame a 1-2 punch of new tariffs that make a Disneyland churro feel like a luxury import, and a flood of grim global headlines portraying the U.S. as a less California dreamin' and more like a California screamin'. From Hollywood's Walk of Fame to fog-kissed redwood groves, the Golden State's luster is starting to look suspiciously bronze. Now, I've seen a couple different things with Hollywood Walk of Fame. It's a nightmare. Don't ever go there. It's stupid. It's just a tourist trap, and it sucks. I used to live not too far from there, and it's a joke. You bring your out-of-state family there for like 20 minutes, and they're even all, why are we here? Yeah, you wanted to come here, remember? You saw some nice thing while you were living in Iowa. Now you want to come see Hollywood Boulevard. It sucks. Anyway, don't ever go there. But if you went there right now, you will see that it's not that crowded. So maybe right now is the good time to go. But I guarantee those people that want to take pictures with you and they're dressed up like Superman or whatever, they're going to want more money. That's all there is to it. And that's what they do. If they offer to stand there while you take a picture, they're going to have their hand out right afterwards. Be prepared for that. They do it in Times Square in New York City too. It's horrible. I hate it. Went to New York City. Most depressing thing I've ever seen is I actually went on a tourist day to Times Square, and it was gross. Never going there again. Now, adding insult to injury, tourism analysts have put a handbrake hard on California. After back-to-back record years, they now predict a rare year-over-year visitors downturn statewide. Capital Radio notes that revised outlook is now got California down 1%. Now, Briggs, that isn't bad, down less than 1% when other places are down 2%. Well, you're also talking about a place where their tourism has grown every single year, minus the pandemic, for decades. They've seen more and more people statewide. You got to think, you got the Redwoods, you got the beaches, you got Disneyland, you got Magic Mountain, you got all those places up and down California, and they've always gained. They've always gained tourism. And now it's actually dropping. So when you've always gained for decades, the slightest little drop, it's kind of damaging, and it's kind of scary for a lot of people there. You know, a lot of them over the years have ramped things up for the, more people, and now they're all, they're slowing down. What's going on here? California is in bad shape, and they will be for, I'm sure, a few years, because this isn't going to recover overnight. I mean, not going to be the end of the year and, things got better, we kind of broke even. No, I think their prediction of 0.8% being down, I think they're, sugarcoating it. I think it's going to be much worse. Los Angeles Times likened it to losing a Super Bowl's worth of tourist cash before summer even starts. Hotels, wineries, and beach town taco stands are bracing for thinner wallets and lighter crowds, wondering how to keep the lights on while the world rethinks its vacation plans. Number 2, New York. New York City may still bill itself as the city that never sleeps, but in 2025, a lot of its hotel mattresses are getting more shut-eye than tourists are. As of April, only 22.5% of New York City's hotel rooms are booked through July. Peak season, mind you, marking 11% nosedive from last year. Hotels are panicking. Broadway producers are counting empty seats, and the street performers in Elmo costumes are starting to wonder if they should have listened to their parents and finished that accounting degree. Now, I just talked about how, Times Square is a nightmare. There's no need to go there, honestly. If you do, just don't make eye contact with anyone there. Even if they look like a normal person and they're trying to hand you a flyer, they want money for that flyer, honestly. It's like got a QR code to their music. They want to talk to you and they want to act like they're your friends, but they're not. They're just trying to get you in a conversation about their music. And once they find out you're not interested, they're no longer your friend. They just usher you along the street like you beg them for money or something. It's weird. Now, a lot of you are going to go, well, New York's a whole big state. Why are you just talking about New York City? Because that's where all the tourists go. I mean, not many people go to Niagara Falls, and not many people go see the Tire Tread Museum in Buffalo or something like that. What's sucking the oxygen out of the arrival halls? Well, tariffs and visa hikes have apparently told would-be visitors, thanks, but no thanks. City officials, staring down a shrinking parade of rolling suitcases, slashed their international visitor forecast by 17%. Fewer Brazilian shoppers on Fifth Avenue, fewer British families queuing up for Hamilton, and fewer selfie stick-wielding travelers clogging up the Brooklyn Bridge means a lot less foreign cash circulating in New York's already testy economy. Even the high-end retailers are feeling the squeeze. There's only so much you could charge for a local t-shirt before they remember Target exists in New Jersey. The damage doesn't stop at the city limits. Albany warns these same tariffs could siphon $7 billion from the broader state economy and vaporize up to 280,000 jobs. Enough lost paychecks to fill Yankee Stadium 6 times over. From Niagara Falls tour guides to the Adirondack B&B owners, everyone is bracing for fewer bookings and thinner tip jars. All in all, the state's going to get hit pretty hard, but New York City's going to be hit the worst, I guarantee. All right, before we get to number 1, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, we'd love it if you would. There's a little button down there. You just hit the, subscribe and hit the like button. Leave me a comment. Tell me what you thought about this video. All right, moving on. And number 1, Florida. Remember when Florida's welcome centers practically stocked maple syrup IV drips for hordes of Canadians landing in Orlando? Those were the glory days. Because Canada normally accounts for a whopping 28% of the Sunshine State foreign visitors. Fast forward to 2025, and bookings from the Great White North have collapsed nearly 40%. Do the math and you get a $12.5 billion black hole in next year's ledger. Enough to buy every single manatee a gallon of sunblock. Those things just get burnt all the time. Their skin's always nasty. I don't know if it's supposed to be better, but it just looks horrible. Anyway, It's not just Florida's problem. Every 10% dip in Canadian travel siphons about $2.1 billion out of U.S. pockets nationwide. But since Florida is basically Disney World wrapped in beaches and retirement condos, it's gulping down an extra large portion of the shortfall. Mickey's lines are shorter this year, so if you want to visit a not-so-crowded Disney World, now's your time. From Destin's Emerald Coast to Daytona's spring break stalwarts, hotel rates are softening, souvenir shops are staging buy one, get 10 seashell specials, and wait staff are learning the sad sound of an empty tip jar. Sunshine is still free, but it's not what keeps your beachfront mortgage payments on autopay. If the Snowbird Squad doesn't return soon, those welcome to Florida signs might start reading more like a desperate Tinder bio. Sunny, 176-year-old, financially responsible, looking for fun international travels that love long walks on the beach and stimulating local economies. Swipe right, please. All right, that's today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day. Be nice to each other. Smash that like button harder than Florida's tourism numbers smashed by Canadian. Smash that to see what states are starring in the biggest economy. Instead, the state's coffers are learning the harsh lesson. Enter Senator Jackie Rosen. Enter Senator Jackie. Enter Senator Jackie Rosen. Enter Senator Jackie Rosen, who's labeled the whole mess a Trump slump, according to her. Enter Senator Jackie Rosen, who's labeled the whole mess a Trump slump. Enter Senator Jackie Rosen, a Trump slump. Enter Senator Jackie Rosen, who's labeled the whole mess a Trump slump. Enter Senator Jackie Rosen. Analysis called this sticker shock. Locals call it Tuesday. The trade. Now, unless prices kind of calm down. Now, a lot of you are going to go, well, New York's a whole big state. Why are you just talking about New York City? Because that's where all the tourists go. I mean, not many people go to Niagara Falls, and not many people go to see the, tire. And not many people go to see their tire. And not many people go see the tire. And not many people go see the Tire Tread Museum in Buffalo or something like that. From Destin's Emerald Coast to Daytona's spring break